This is not my first Trinity. My first Trinity was Emmanuel Trinity in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, where I was born and baptized. Apparently, my family sat in the front row. I was little. I went to Sunday school. But apparently, that's where they were. When I got older and we moved to the church where I grew up, third pew on the left. I can still smell the place. Third pew on the left. In fact, I went to the internet today and went to their Facebook page and looked at their pictures, and sure enough, I saw third pew on the left. For the last almost 30 years, it's been sitting up there. So I always get a seat. One time I went to a church to do some supply preaching, and I walked in the back like you guys do, most of you, and it was empty, it was early, and I got there and I looked around, and there were little cushions all over in the pews. People staked out their spot there. And I thought maybe, they would just bring them for Sunday. But no, they left them during the week. I expected to see some of that little yellow caution tape around it. Don't sit here. We laugh about that, and it's oftentimes, I think that, and it's not just us Lutherans, but, I think most churches have this, that people sit in a particular seat, right? And I think sometimes we laugh about that, and, in our worst moments, we say, it's the old joke, how many Lutherans does it take to change a light bulb? Change? Right? So we kind of laugh about it, and again, at our worst moments, we say, these Lutherans, they never, they're so stuck in their ways, and they don't want to change, and all that kind of stuff. And I will tell you that I believed that myself for a long, long time. When I was a younger man, I thought, worship should be a little bit different every week, and it should be exciting, and it should be, this, that, and appeal to a lot of different people and a lot of different styles, and that's what you should do. And that's when I was young. And I've had a bit of a reformation of my own over the years. And so today's Reformation Day sermon is in some ways going to be arguing for a different idea of reformation. And that's this. There is something tremendously comforting about the same. There is something tremendously comforting in all the trials and tribulations and all the mess that life can be, and all the hustle and all the craziness and everything that happens in our lives, there is something comforting about having some things you can count on. Let me give you an example. I can close my eyes right now, and I know that Maxine is right there. But that's a good thing. I know that Clyde and Donna are going to be right there. I know that the Happ family is going to be exactly where they are, right? I know that it's going to go McCallum, Peterson, Meyer. There's something tremendously comforting about that. Because life gives us things that we don't expect. Cal and Jean should be right there. But they're not today. Jean will be back, but not Cal. And every time we lose somebody, whether it's to death or illness or they move away, it leaves a little bit of a hole in us. It leaves a little bit of an empty spot in each of us. Now, yes, over time, somebody is sitting in our third pew on the left now in Beaver Dam, Wisconsin. But there is something comforting about knowing that Reformation Sunday is going to be red. That next Sunday, All Saints is going to be white. That after that, Advent will come and that's blue. There's something comforting in knowing that, well, he's not there right now. He's in that seat right now. But usually he's sitting at the organ bench. There's something comforting in being able to look back at the sound booth and know there's somebody there. And I think we shouldn't underestimate that. We shouldn't underestimate that while the whole world around us is swirling with change and unknown things, and none of us know the day or the time, as the Bible reminds us, there's something comforting in knowing that, like that old theme song to the show Cheers, there's something comforting in going to some place where everybody knows your name. And if they don't know your name, at least they know you're here for the same reason. Now, what does that have to do with Reformation? The danger is thinking that those things, the red and the white and the blue, the little seat pads where, where people sit, knowing that I can count on and you can count on people in mostly the same place every week. There's a danger in that. The danger is that we start to think that that's the thing. That's the thing that matters. What holds this together is to make sure that we're all in the same place. If we just recreate this every Sunday just like it is, everything will be okay. Right? If we just march the cross in, do our thing, march the cross out, everything will be good. Luther called that adiaphora. I don't expect you to remember that. But what he meant by that was all the stuff of church, because even in Luther's time, there were customs. They did things a certain way. Right? They sang songs a certain way. They celebrated Christmas a certain way. And throughout history, there have always been customs. And customs are okay unless we get stuck in them. But for centuries, then, the answer has always been, well, let's change it. The way not to get stuck is to fix it, to do something different. But today I want to ask us to think about those lessons and think about exactly what God is saying on this Reformation Day. God is reminding us that it is not the robes and stoles, it is not the music, it is not where we sit, it is not who sits there. What holds us together is promises like covenant, where God has said, I'm with you, and I'm not going to leave. Tomorrow, that'll be the message to Jean and to Cal's family and to all who gather. We cannot cheat death, but we can defeat it. Because God has said, you are my people, period. A second thing that God reminds us, God is in the midst of the city. That's where God lives, not off, in some faraway place. But God is in the midst of the city, in the midst of this place. I'm so excited that this fall we made a very real statement about God being in the midst of the city on 3 sides of our shed. It says to the whole neighborhood, we ain't going nowhere. And oh, by the way, God is not trapped inside the doors and windows of this building. The message of the gospel is out there for all to see. Everybody who drives by, everybody who parks in the parking lot, no matter what, we've made a statement that God is in the midst of this city. Be still and know that I am God, is how Psalm 46 ends. We all need a little bit more of that. And I think one of the wonderful things about our Lutheran liturgy, while, again, many people might say, oh, boring, because we don't have lights and smoke machines and, all that kind of stuff. But instead, I think we have something just as powerful, if not more, and that's in the midst of everything going on, we come on a Sunday, and even for a few minutes, just pause and are still and listen for God, which I think we all know is a lost art these days. Listening. And finally, if the Son sets you free, you are free. Reformation Sunday reminds us, as we sang in A Mighty Fortress, that grand old hymn that I think if I decided we wouldn't sing someday, you'd run me out of this town. That and Silent Night, boy, whoo! Don't touch those. Some things never change, and that's okay. But if the Son sets us free, we are free indeed. Do you think we live in a culture, do you think we live in a city where people need to be set free? I'd say so. We've got drug problems. We've got abuse problems. People with money problems. We've got all sorts of problems, and we could go on and on, health problems, all of that. And the Son reminds us, Jesus reminds us, come to me. My burden is not heavy. Be set free. Trust me. I've told you all throughout today and all throughout your lives. Covenant, I'm here, and I'm setting you free. So in a strange sort of way, our not changing is the best reformation that we can say to our larger culture. In a strange sort of way, we know that the message just will not change. Styles, people, all of that will. But the gospel remains. And so I think as we go out into the world, what can we say to people? We don't have to say, wow, we got a great choir. Oh, we have a really good group of people. Oh, you should come to our church. We have trunk or treat. We've got a pastor. Best we could do, but okay. Instead, say, come to a place and be still and hear that some things never change. Love, grace, forgiveness, kindness, hope. Ask people, if that's the kind of stuff you'd like in your life, we've got some. Come. Come. One more time, come. I have my own theme music. Come and see. Come and see. Come and see that there are things you can count on in this world. There are things that are eternal. There are things that will carry you through whatever life throws you. But come early so you can get your own seat. Amen.